Wednesday the 5th of February, and these are the charts of the day. Good day on Wall Street, closing at the highs for the day, going away. Lots of stocks are running. Let's take a look at a couple dozen of them. ECB, marijuana stocks woke up today with ECB's strong report. This stock went from 370 to 583 on 78 million shares. I would call that a breakout. Look at the declining top line. It's a 9-month declining top line, breaking through lateral resistance, moving averages, and everything. I suspect the follow through gets us to about 6.25. We may get to 7.25. Apps broke out on a strong earnings report today and spiked from 241 to 349, finishing 334, up 86 cents. That's a 35% gain. Trading 12 million, good volume for that stock. There is some resistance just ahead, around 370, sorry. And then we're looking at an extension to about 4 3/4. ASTS, well, we did very well with this one. If you remember back in May, June, July, when the stock exploded from 2 and went all the way up into the high 30s. It's been 6 months nearly of consolidations. The last 3-4 days, 5 days in a row now, up off the low of 17.50. Today's high was 24 3/4, and it closed there. Terrific for this stock. This looks like it's going to extend. We might get 28 3/4 to 29 on the next move. ABNW exploded with a breakaway gap, traded only 1.2 million, but it's thin stock. You can see it went from 22.63 to 26.89 and finished at 25.50, went up 496, a 24% gain, as I said. The extension target is 29 and 32. BBAI, our swing, did great today, exploded, literally went 478 to 754, 282 million shares, the biggest I've ever seen in a stock. On a breakout day, taking out a base out, we might get an extension to 10 on this one. Stay tuned. BCRX also popped out of a base pattern that took several months to develop. Today's volume was 3.8 million, about average, but on a breakout day, we'd like to see a little bit more volume, of course. But if we can get an extension to 9 3/4 and even 11, those will be my next 2 targets. Cumberland Pharmaceuticals, CPIX, popped in December and coiled and popped in January and had a falling wedge, but held the gap and the 50-day moving average and went vertical from 208 in 2 days to 655, tripling and then some, with an extension target might be 7.5 3/4. Stay tuned. Good momentum of that. CRNT, our swing, popped out of the developing wedge that I talked about from that last couple weeks, and now I'm looking for a retest of the 5 3/4 range to 6.25 and then 7. DNA, this biotech, after a long drop that saw it go, this is a reverse split, by the way, has moved out of a base and up to resistance and actually slightly through it. This is the highest close since June of last year. Extension targets would be 18.25 and 20. ERJ, our swing from way back here, obviously not a swing anymore, but certainly a steady rising intermediate type channel, exploded today on a strong earnings report from 41 to 46.70. Actually, it wasn't an earnings report. It was a $7 billion contract, the largest ever received from the company. I'm looking for a follow through into the low 50s. GRAL breaking out of a base. This is not too far ago. IPO back in June, broke out, wedge, pop, wedge, and then popped again. Today you're moving 28 to 34.49 and finishing just pennies underneath that, up 607. Volume was 1.6 million, which is strong for that stock. Don't be surprised if you see high 30s. LABU, I wanted to draw your attention to the biotech sector because after a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, falling wedge, left shoulder, head, and right shoulder has developed, and it's right at the neckline. If this thing breaks out, it could take the whole market with it. My targets are 116 and 128. I kid you not. Inverse head and shoulder may be about to be exploded out of. Closing above the 50, basically a close above the 50, first time since November, and this could be meaningful. LAES and the Junior Semiconductor Group popped out of the coil, and after a big run in December that saw it literally go from 35 cents to $10, $11, and then pulling back on a fib retracement to the moving average. Today was a nice pop. My targets are 5 and 6.5. Mattel, strong earnings report, major breakaway gap, and a breakthrough, some key resistance. Looking for an extension to 22 and 24. MNMD also popped and broke out with some volume, 11.3 million shares. This looks like a long base pattern as well. The close was underneath the breakout point, so we need to wait to see if we can get some follow through. If we do, $12 target. MRCY, Mercury Computer, with a big breakaway gap on a strong report, jumped from 48 to 53, finished just under 50, up 779, 18.5%. Volume was 3.5 million shares, the biggest we've seen in a few months. Might see a follow through to 56 and 60. NXEL, we've been waiting for a couple months after this coil developed, following the big run in October, November, that target this got literally from 59 cents to 440. Then a pullback into the 220-30 range, held on several tests right there. Today was a breakout above the moving average. It didn't close great, but it was still up 14%. Follow through targets now are 4.5 and 6. OPRA also may have popped, but it didn't quite break out. A move across today's high of 20 could run it into the low to mid 20s. PLCE popped a coil as well. That one looks similar to a couple stocks we're following that have falling wedges. This one snapped right back to resistance and the moving average. So today's high of 11.5 is what we want to see broken out. Then your targets are 13 and 15. Quantum exploded yesterday and a beautiful follow through today. After dipping down at 564, it nearly doubled to 1005, finishing 972, up 301 or 45%. Volume was 18 million, less than yesterday, but still the highest price we've seen on it since it spiked in August. There's a possibility we get a follow through into the low to mid teens. Reborn Coffee, massive move recently. It's taken it from 139 to 675 in about a week, and then a pullback yesterday. That held right there, and today it snapped back. If we get up through 7, we could see 9. REKR, after spiking in December and January, saw it moving from 78 cents literally to 259, tripling, and then pulled back and back to filled and coiled for about 4 or 5 weeks, and today broke out. My target now is 4. RNAZ popped a couple weeks ago and had a falling wedge right to the moving average, and price support held and snapped back today. Targets are 16.5, 3/4, and 20. And finally, little talk, PALK finally broke out of a mini inverse head and shoulders through the moving averages and neckline. I suspect we quickly will test 3 3/4 and then 4.5, 5. And that's a look at some of the hot stocks and swings at detectrader.com. Good night, everybody.